I'm rolling. Right, this is it. Okay.
Okay, now my sweep doing this again.
In 3, 2, 1. Hello, my name is Ted. I'm from Red Digital.
Hey, I'm Michael Cioni from Plaster City Digital Post.
And I'm one of the guys behind the Red Digital Cinema Camera.
And I'm really just a post house vendor that's really had a great time and enjoyed working with it.
So if we're lucky, there might be some graphics guy that puts up cool little lower thirds.
Right now.
But maybe not. So we're here today to talk about something that we like to call myth busting. So this is potentially the first episode of Mythbusters.
There's been quite a bit of different things said about how you can take a 4K file, edit it in real time, make dailies and do stuff like that. And a lot of people have some misconceptions about it. So we wanted to take some time to actually show how it can be done without actually cutting around it and trying to make any backroom secrets.
Right.
So
We're here to just prove it out once and for all and show you how this really works. But before we do that, we have to actually do the end of our little show.
Right. So hold on one second.
So we're going to move to this camera, and we're going to actually do the ending now. So go ahead, you start.
So that was Mythbusters. Hopefully that now that we've kind of put everything on the table, there isn't going to need to be an episode 2.
Right, or if we do an episode 2, it'll be on some other myth busting, like how the West was won. Or something like that.
Right. Maybe something not Red related. But we definitely appreciate what you guys learn, and hopefully that we'll be able to see it in 4K in the future.
Right, so that's the first episode of Mythbusters. Thanks for joining us, and you've watched this in 4K shot with the Red One digital cinema cameras.
Cool. Okay.
Now back to the beginning here.
That'll make sense in a few minutes, but when we get into that, we got to kind of see how this stuff comes off the camera.
Right.
So.
Right. I'm supposed to sit close to you to keep the shot.
Oh,
nice
right.
and framed. So
Very
here
good.
we go.
Very good.
Okay. So we're shooting this with 2 cameras. One's just locked off over here, and the other one is active on a Steadicam. Both cameras shooting 4K with the Red One camera.
Yeah.
And we've shipped hundreds of cameras out into the market now. So a lot of people want to know, does this really work end to end? And what we've done from a development standpoint, at the same time we've been building this camera, we also have this unique development relationship with Apple that allows us to take the 4K files, and these files are huge, right?
Yeah.
You're not talking HD. This is between 6 and 10 times HD, and take these files and drop them directly into a Mac platform in Final Cut Pro, or just open them up with QuickTime Player.
Yeah.
So we're actually going to show you this right now in real time.
So basically what's going to happen here is we're going to see that the magazine from Red comes out here, and we've got a bunch of different QuickTime movies. So the first one, which is really small, like 1/4 K, is great for uploading onto the web. Second one is great for DVD dailies, making like a reference on DVDs. Now the high-res movie, which is 2K, which is about half res, is great for offline editorial. These are people cutting in 2K the whole time.
Right, and before you get to the next one, so just to give you guys an idea of what's going on here, the camera that's shooting right now is generating QuickTime reference movies inside the camera as it's generating the 4K wavelet media, which is our red code RAW. Camera shoots RAW, so the files are, the codec files are then pointed to a very tiny QuickTime file, and that's what you opened up in real time, and that's what's playing here. So what we do from an editorial standpoint is we go to the size of the power of your machine. So if you have a top-end Mac, this is an 8-core Mac top-end system, you can use and open the half-size one. And then we also have something even bigger, which you should show them.
Yeah, it's not really sure what it's actually for, but there actually is a 4K QuickTime movie the camera generates. Might as well, I suppose.
That gives you an idea of how big it is. We haven't quite figured out what to do with this yet in post-production, but at some point we will. So it's there for you to experiment with now.
For most people, they're probably going to work with the high-res movie, which is half K.
Correct.
So 2K from a 4K originated project.
Right. So this is beyond HD editing for your offline.
Exactly.
Which is somewhat incredible. So this is just a timeline of a short movie that you've been working on, right? And you're just scrolling around in real time.
Yeah, really easy to cut, just like we've been doing for a long time, but let's start with a new sequence.
Right, so make a new sequence, and we're going to show you how this works in real time. So none of this has been pre-baked, or we didn't create this or pre-render anything. These are literally the QuickTime movies that come right off the camera. He's going to drop them right into a timeline, and the Apple software, the Final Cut software, says, do you want to match the parameters of the clip to the sequence? And of course we say yes. Drops it right in. We haven't rendered any of this.
So what we do now, switch our real-time settings back to unlimited RT. Now a lot of people are going to be able to edit in high or medium and low, or leave it on dynamic, but most people are going to work in medium quality for the type of speed of computers that they have. But once we set it up to medium, the ability to play back is pretty much there.
So this is Final Cut's interface, and we're driving out of an AJA Kona 3 card in real time, cropping it out to HD in real time. No rendering here, no transcoding here. This is literally a drag and drop operation, and we're pulling from the 4K. So you're actually editing 4K in Final Cut in real time without rendering.
With embedded
audio,
sound.
right.
So it's actually pretty remarkable that we can incorporate all those elements into one QuickTime movie.
Right.
Now, the last thing about myth busting all this stuff here is it actually as fast as everybody says it is? And if it is, how do we actually prove that on such a device as we're trying to promote tonight?
So the good news is we've got a Steadicam.
Yeah.
And in this room, this is a pretty typical Final Cut system you'd see in a lot of edit bays around the world.
Yeah.
We're going to go to a slightly more exotic Final Cut bay,
Yeah.
but nothing other than the big projector that we're going to see is really any different than what's going on in here. They both have 8-core Intel Max and Kona 3 cards.
Let's do it.
Okay, so I'm going to take this camera off. Now this camera's been rolling the whole time. I'm just going to pop it off the tripod. This is where it gets a little dicey for me. Pull it off. Okay, that was good.
All right, keep it rolling here.
We're not gonna cut. I'm just gonna flop this around so I can see the monitor. All right.
She's a little, okay. So basically, one of the things that we're trying to do is cut out a lot of the downtime that a lot of dailies turnaround processes require. So when you're working with Red, unlike film or some of the HD other acquisitions, you don't have to spend time processing all this stuff. So it's really a remarkable speed efficiency.
What are you guys doing?
What are you doing?
I made that logo you wanted and I put it on the sand.
Oh, thanks. I liked your podcast the other night.
Oh, thanks.
That's very good. We got permission to do this. So we'll go into the theater here, which, as Ted said, is basically just a really large Final Cut bay. So, but what I was kind of trying to say is that this footage is all about getting it in faster, not waiting for time to process dailies, not waiting for time to render them, not waiting to telecine or dub or down convert. We're going to take the files directly and put them right in. So I guess
I'm going to
we'll
walk
come up
the
here.
second Red camera that we're shooting with, both shooting 4K here. And we're going to just come up. So this is inside the Plaster City DI Theater, which is, like I said, pretty exotic. There's a Christie 2K digital cinema projector in here. But the base of the system, and I'm just going to set this down right here, the base of the system is just a regular old Mac. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop recording this camera. So at this point, the B camera is going to go off. Okay. And
Now we're going to eject.
we're going to eject in a moment here.
So what's important to remember is we're not actually doing anything fancy in the background here. This is just a really large Final Cut Pro edit bay. But other than that, there's not really any difference. So,
Okay, so I'm just going to pull the mag out. So what we shot on was this Red drive. So this can record up to 2.5 hours of 4K. And when it's mounted on the camera, it uses a high-speed SATA port. And lo and behold, there are also FireWire ports on here. So this allows us to take this drive and mount it onto a Mac.
so we're actually going to take the drive here, just going to plug it in, FireWire 400, which is kind of the lowest common denominator here.
Yep.
Set the drive down, and now we're going to go over to the computer,
And I'm going to turn this camera off just to save the battery.
take a look at it.
Okay, so we mounted that drive onto the Mac. Why don't you go first, Mike?
Oh, thank you very much. And again, we take a look into the room here. The room actually is just a giant Final Cut Pro edit bay. Final Cut at the core, 2K projection at the back end, and a 27-foot screen in front. But other than that,
So it's important to note, this is literally the same kind of Mac that's in a normal edit bay, except the Kona 3 is, instead of connected to a little HD monitor, is connected to a big giant HD monitor. In fact,
Yeah.
this one's roughly 30 feet across.
yeah. So I'm actually just going to grab, just like we saw earlier, we have the QuickTime movies
Right.
that we were able to
This
work
is what
with
we
before.
just shot on that B camera.
This is what we shot on the B camera. So this hopefully is going to make this make a lot of sense for a lot of people here. Here's our QuickTime movie.
Now, before you finish this, so this will do the same thing, we want to match this up. What we just did is not really recommended practice in actual shooting, because we took our drive, our actual footage, and we mounted it directly onto the Mac, and now we're just playing off that drive. That's your negative, right? So in the real world, you're going to take that drive and you're going to back it up 2 or 3 times, and then you're going to load that onto your SAN or onto your editing drive and edit from that. But just to show you how well this works and how real time this can be, we literally took the drive off the camera that we were shooting, and he just mounted it on the Mac here, loaded it up, and now we have our ending, and now it's kind of probably making sense as to why we shot that little ending before on the big Final Cut screen. So this is playing back in real time. And we're going to actually do the ending now.
Yeah.
So go ahead, you start.
So that was Mythbusters. Hopefully that now that we've kind of put everything on the table, there isn't going to need to be an episode 2.
Right, or if we do an episode 2, it'll be on some other myth busting, like how the West was won. Or something
Right,
like that.
right. Maybe something not red related, but we definitely appreciate what you guys learn, and hopefully that we'll be able to see it in 4K in the future.
Right, so that's the first episode of Mythbusters. Thanks for joining us, and you've watched this in 4K shot with Red One digital cinema cameras. Oh, now put up the logo.
Oh yeah.